Okay, we have a green box, we have a live counter ticking up, so we should now be live. Which of course means welcome back to the Storytime Network. It is once again time for the Paradox Hour podcast, which is actually more like 2 hours, because hey, what the hell? And
Time is illusion.
the universe is a hologram by gold.
Bye.
Well, time to
Viva
end the
la
stream, I guess.
revolución.
Jack said bye, so I guess we got to end. No.
No. Damn
Yeah.
it.
Oh,
Okay.
we're done already? Okay, see you guys later.
Bye.
I will break your knee.
Okay. So, it is, in fact, time, ladies and gentlemen, to face the strange changes.
Yep.
I won't sing this time, I promise.
Good, because, I have the power to mute you.
Actually,
you've got the power.
technically, everyone in the call except Dylan has the power to mute Dylan.
Right.
Oh, I see how it is.
You do
can't
yourself no favors.
You cannot silence the truth as much as you may try.
Oh,
You'll mute him.
I think you're very wrong about that.
Privileges.
I think he's very wrong about that, and he'll get to figure that out in the timeout corner. No.
Yeah, Dylan, you've been muted. Oh, there you go. You're free.
Yeah. So yeah, we're back with the Dresden Files. We're back with Book 12, Changes. It is on its own because it is a big fucker.
It's
actually not
also
long. It's only like 400 pages.
I'm more mean in
Yes,
terms
but
of the shit that happens.
yes, it's incredibly dense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a
extremely.
thick, chunky boy.
In terms of the title,
Let me think.
it's very accurate in the sense that changes happen.
yeah, the title is very, very fitting because this is the where the series very much takes a left turn into Albuquerque.
I would honestly, I would call changes Harry's growing pains. Because, Dresden for the last 11 books, it's 11, right? Changes is book 12?
Changes is book
Yep.
12. I know because I always think, Changes should be book 13.
Right? I also always think that, but for some reason, it just
You know what? I see your point, but I don't think that. I think that Harry was raised under a lucky star, not an unlucky star. So
Bullshit.
12 makes
yes,
sense.
that
in
unlucky
sense.
star's name is Jim Butcher, whose entire
Yeah.
goal in life with his series
No,
is
what
to
I'm
make
saying
Harry...
is he was not
No.
born under an unlucky star. He was born under a lucky star. The fact that he survived the amount of shit that he's been put through is insane.
I'm pretty sure that's literal. He is a starborn.
Yeah, no,
Which
that's
we'll-
what I mean. He was born under a literal lucky star.
Which we'll
But
get
we don't
to.
know about that yet. That's
Yeah,
later
we
on.
will get to that
we know
later.
he's a starborn. We have no idea what purpose that serves. I mean, even up to book 17, we still don't really have a solid idea of what purpose that serves.
When did we find
Correct.
out that he was a starborn?
I don't know.
The first introduction of Outsiders, I believe.
I don't think so. I don't think it was that
not
early.
Even. No.
That was
You
well
don't
before
even
that.
know about it in Changes. I think you know about it after. I think it's in Peace Talks that you find out.
No. You
No, we knew before that.
Maybe it was
earlier
Turncoat.
on.
It might have been Turncoat.
Ooh,
Yes,
no, it might have been White
Turncoat,
Knight.
actually.
It might have been White Knight.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
Give me a
I think
second.
that's too early.
I'm looking at the wiki and they've got a footnote for White Knight. So
Okay, then
So maybe it was
probably
referenced
before.
in White Knight.
Yeah. So
Regardless, back to actually talking about changes. This book is the basically the big wham episode of the series.
yeah.
The biggest one so far.
a lot of revelation.
A lot of revelations, starting with one on the first fucking page. Harry has a daughter.
Okay, when are we going to talk about this?
Oh,
Might as well
she
talk
was
about it
definitely
now.
conceived when Harry fucking tied Susan to the ceiling of his apartment.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's
that's established. That is
Like
known.
that is when she was conceived, so that
No,
was literally a
that's not what I'm talking
canonical
about.
conception.
Yeah,
When
no,
are
that
we gonna address the elephant in the room?
what, the timeline thing?
Not the timeline thing. The
fact-
Susan thing.
the fact that Susan was kind of an asshole for not telling Harry.
Oh, did
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
tell Harry at all. I think the daughter is like what, 5 years old at this point?
Yeah,
She's
7,
8.
I believe.
7.
Oh.
7 or 8, yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, no, the stick move, yeah, Harry does not find out until literally the first page of this book.
It's like
So that's why I mentioned the scene where she was conceived, because that was like 3 books ago.
not 3 books
No.
ago. That was like book 5.
That's Masks, book 5.
Yeah. Yeah, 7 books ago.
okay, just
Yes,
getting
oh,
So
and
like,
considering that each book is a year, yeah, it makes sense that she's 7 years old.
just
Okay.
getting back to the Starbomb thing for a quick second. It was apparently the implications were briefly described in White Knight. He Who Walks Behind called him Child of the Stars in Ghost Story, and then I don't think Starborn actually came up until Cold Days, the actual term.
All right, so we'll discuss that when we get to Cold Days.
Yeah.
But yes, yeah, Susan made an incredible dick move for a number of reasons. It was also not the smartest move because I understand that Dresden's got enemies, right?
Yep.
I can understand her logic. My problem is with the fact that I'm 99% sure Dresden would have agreed with the logic and also probably could have found it because, like, from what I understand, wasn't the home that Susan put the daughter into just normies?
I believe so,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there were
Susan was trying to keep it
definitely-
as low key as possible, I think.
Yes.
And like included
that-
Dresden in that.
Yes, and that kind of screwed her over, didn't it?
Yeah.
Backfired
Because
immensely,
if she had brought Dresden in on it, he could have brought all sorts of different types of protection to
He
that.
has so many people, powerful people who are on his side, whether he knows it or not, that he absolutely could have like put an Uber babysitter squad together. You know what? Honestly, I actually feel like it's funny, especially considering the events of this book and what we learn later in the series. You know what I feel like might have been a very good candidate?
Huh.
Ivy and Kincaid.
Yo, that would have been sick.
Right? Like, Ivy could have gotten, like, a bit of a more normal childhood sort of thing, considering she'd get, like, a baby sister, which she's already too mature for her own good because, you know, all sorts of nonsense. And Kincaid's
But here's the
already
thing, they would
raised
never
one,
they would
and
never
will
let
raise
that
another
happen.
one.
They really try to keep the archive from forming human connections so that like the knowledge remains it remains objective knowledge and not subjective.
Yeah, but I feel like that kind of went
Like,
out the
that's-
window when you
that's-
introduced Harry Dresden into the mix.
Well, yeah,
That
no, and that's the
that
thing. Is, like,
doesn't-
even after he names her Ivy, is like they try to keep him away from her. They really try to keep them
Yeah.
separate and keep them like kind of professional at the very least.
It doesn't work though, because like
No,
She
it
does.
doesn't. But you can see the attempts being made. So like
Yes.
they would never go for something
Attempt
like
was
having
indeed
him.
made.
I also think,
the
yeah,
attempt was
like,
made.
yes,
Yes.
Ivy is friends with Harry, and yes, Kincaid has a certain amount of respect for Harry. That doesn't mean they're gonna take in his kid.
Exactly what I'm saying. Like it's just like they got
I
their own
think
problems
as
without
of-
adding Harry's kid to the mix.
As of changes, no. Though I do think an argument could be made later on. But like again, that's just one
Can I help you?
example. He does have a very powerful mentor who would be more than happy to take care of his kid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And,
but
like,
Ebenezer has just as many enemies as Harry.
yes, but he's also much more powerful.
Remember the last time we saw someone make an enemy out of Ebenezer?
Yeah, he did
They're
drop
not
a
alive
literal.
Well,
He
this
did
is
drop a literal
like the comeuppance
meteor.
for that, by the way, is the kidnapping of Harry's daughter.
Yes, we'll talk about that in a bit. But yeah, basically what I'm saying, hell, I
No,
mean,
no.
they came up with like this is the optimal solution. Let's be real, would be the Carpenters, because you have
Yeah.
literally you would gain the power of Christ would compel all the evil to get it. You know, even before Michael's
Oh my god, it's
return-
almost like that happens in a later book. Wait, no spoilers, right?
So here's
Look,
the thing.
it was an
I
obvious
think I
move.
could, argue successfully against this, but it would involve context from later books.
Yes.
Also,
we can't
Let's
really
stick
go
to the
into.
book that we're
So why
talking
would
about in
wanna
this
do-
stream.
Put it this way.
We've already failed that 10 minutes in.
Yeah, put it this way. If Harry knew where Maggie was, I don't think he could stay uninvolved.
Mm-hmm.
That is a fair point, yes. But like again, what I'm saying is I'm sure there were better ways to make better arrangements than just
Again,
sticking her
I'm
with
not-
normal people and hoping
I'm-
that no one finds out.
I'm not denying that Susan fucked up by A, not telling him, and then B, just, hiding her away and hoping for the best. That said,
Yes.
I feel like I'd have to
So,
actually,
here's the
have to
thing.
check the book itself to be sure, but I feel like there were protections around them.
Yes, but here's the thing. Even if he didn't leave her with anyone he knew, he knows enough people who care about him that they could have probably arranged for a much better protection detail than what she eventually got.
Oh yeah, that's right. This is the book. Okay, cool. I was just reading like a freaking summary of it.
Just to double check
Just to
on
make sure you
everything,
don't
make
have
sure
to
you have your
install
stuff in order.
something.
Yeah. So are we gonna get into the plot?
Yes, where I'm believe me, I'm gonna have words about Susan later on, but like
Mhm.
this covers it.
Susan's
for
a
me.
dumb bitch, and this is like the culmination of her being a dumb bitch. And like half of
Yeah,
the
It's
half of
rude
the
of
things
her.
that happen in this book are because Susan's a dumb bitch.
Okay, now
You
let's
could
not
phrase
use
that
gendered
better.
language, please.
No,
could phrase
it's
that
not.
better.
It's not a gender blame. It's a person blame because she is a stupid person.
She's an idiot. Just yeah, no, it's
Call her
she's
a
a
bitch.
Hey, if it was a dude, I'd call him a dumb bitch too.
okay.
It's
That's
a gender
fair. As long
neutral
as we-
term for
yeah,
me.
No. Yeah, as long as we clarify that, because it's again,
Yeah.
like people could misunderstand.
Just like a bastard can also be a woman too. Like it doesn't have to be a man.
I know. It's just like it's the
The
whole.
connotation of it.
I know.
Connotation.
It's yeah. I feel like it's implied when I say it, but I guess not.
It's always better to assume that whoever you're
Assume
speaking
that you'll
to.
be misunderstood. I understand.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
And
yes,
in the
she's
spirit of that, I'm gonna go grab a beer.
Oh,
you know,
boy.
that's fair.
Jack, do you want a beer?
I have a beer. Thanks, so.
You
Yeah,
you two are just really are brothers, huh?
Yep.
But yeah,
Yeah. So Susan just calls Harry out of the blue and lets him know, yeah, they've kidnapped our daughter and I'm coming too. I need your help.
which would have been nice. Okay, and no. Anyway, I'm done. But yeah, so this is basically the first time in the series we see Dresden go all out.
Mm.
He's like calling in favors. He's like
Do you want me to do a
this is-
summary before we actually get into the book?
sure.
So yes, Susan reappears via phone call to tell Harry that they have a daughter, and she has been kidnapped by Duchess Ariana, the widow of Duke Ortega, who Harry dueled and Ebenezer kablooied
That was back in book 5.
back in Death Masks. Dresden tries to search for information and search for help. The council can't give any because there are peace talks, let's say, going on.
I see what you did there, and it's
Mhm.
hilarious, especially considering the context. Wow, that just bad things happen whenever peace talks get involved, huh?
Yeah,
not
it's like
helping.
Murphy's Law. It's like Finnegan's Law is specifically applied to this particular set of
Peace talks
circumstances.
rarely end in peace.
Yeah. Not helping matters is that the Red Court have sent their premier assassins, the Ebes, after Dresden, which results in his building blowing up.
To paint a picture, they look like a tennis club couple.
Okay. No, didn't they just throw a molly into his bedroom?
I was getting to that, Fuzzy. That's not until like the last third.
Wait, Oh, you're talking
Fuzzy,
about his office
Fuzzy,
building.
you-
Sorry, I completely
Fuzzy,
forgot about
don't-
that.
Yeah, the
Just-
part
just
where
let
his
Mill say the
office
summary.
building gets fucking firebombed.
Guys, just let Mill say the summary
Yeah,
before you
sorry.
butt in. God, stop.
I literally
gotta
have it in front of
commentate.
me. I know the order of this book.
Please proceed.
Not helping matters is the fact that the Red Court sent their premier assassins. I'm really not sure whether they were, but we'll go with it. Assassins the Ebes after him, and they start harassing him via first destroying his office building, which actually ends up with him being investigated by the FBI. Harry also is eventually sent to meet with an important figure, let's say. The one-eyed CEO of Monarch Securities, Donar Vadarung, who is, let's be real, he's Odin.
Yeah, he's
No, that's right. They're really not attempting to hide it
No,
anymore.
they didn't attempt to hide it at all, and I just couldn't be bothered trying to
to
like
fair,
hide it either.
we've known Guard was a Valkyrie since like day one, so it's kind of like they've never really made an attempt to hide it.
And Vadarung, or Odin, has the information that that Harry does in fact need. It is around.
Just tell him.
It is around this time that I believe he's also told the Red Court's plan, which is to use Maggie as the basis for a spell that will essentially kill anybody in her bloodline, aka Harry. And by sheer coincidence, it would probably end up taking out most of the White Court. Certainly the Wraiths.
I believe it was clarified by Butcher that it would stop at Thomas.
Right. Fair enough.
Yeah, but would also kill, drumroll please, Ebenezer.
Who turns out to
Yeah.
be Harry's grandfather.
Which I can understand his reasoning for not saying it outright. Because here's the thing: once he found out,
Fuzzy.
he took him in anyway, right? He already
Fuzzy.
did everything. Okay, yeah, sorry.
Come on.
While prepping for the assault on where the fuck was it again?
Chichen Itza.
Chichen Itza. Harry's apartment is in fact firebombed by the Ebes. He manages to get out, but in trying to save his elderly neighbors, he breaks his back. And he can't heal it. He goes as far as calling up Uriel to help, aka Archangel Uriel. But unfortunately, he is left with very few options and picks what he believes is the best one. In return for healing his back, he becomes the Winter Knight for Queen Mab, and fucks her on a stone table.
Let's be real. He was not the one doing she banged him, not the other way around.
Yeah.
He was not exactly in control in that situation.
He had two other options in that moment, besides accepting Mab's offer.
We'll
he
get
could
it.
also call on Lashiel's coin or use the Dark Hallow ritual.
Now fully healed, Harry gets his ragtag group of misfits that lines up pretty well with the Fellowship of the Ring.
Almost like that was intentional on Butcher's part.
Yeah, and they launched their assault on Chichen Itza. Harry completely fucking destroys Ariana in a magical duel, but the Red King betrays them. They fight their way up,
Shocker.
and at the top, Martin, Susan's friend, turns out to be a traitor, which causes Susan to lose control and become a full Red Court vampire. Dresden realizes what he can do. He uses a knife. He ends a war.
To state it in slightly less dramatic fashion, turns out the bloodline curse is kind of like a loaded gun, and Susan just became the youngest Red Court vampire, so she becomes the ammo for the gun.
So Harry ends up destroying the entire Red Court.
Oh, also, Martin was not just a traitor; he was a triple agent.
We will get onto the vagaries of what Martin did, but in the aftermath, Harry, seemingly homeless, is allowed to live on the on Thomas's boat, the Water Beetle, and is actually preparing for a date with Murphy. But then, who spotted red paint on his boat? And why did he pick the shirt with the bullet hole in it?
The
book ends.
The way that part was written.
The book ends with Harry having been shot basically in the chest, basically in the heart, frankly, and left to sink
Falling
into
into
the icy waters of Lake Michigan.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a fun fucking ending to the book.
Yeah, I
Changed his ends
actually
with a
cannot-
massive change.
I cannot actually imagine, because here's the thing. When I started reading the Dresden Files, it was already released up to Cold Days.
I do
cannot
not have that
imagine
same
anyone-
experience.
Yeah, right? I cannot imagine.
Bastard.
I can't imagine reading up to changes and that being the latest book and being just like, what? It ended on that?
Jack, when did
No!
I start reading the Dresden Files? Was it when Turncoat came out?
No.
Or was
We-
it when Deadbeat came out?
You read it a lot later. You read it after Cold Days.
Really?
I think you started it when Skin Game was recently out.
That's the one. Yeah, Skin Game when that just came out. That's when I started reading it.
Yeah, I started reading it a lot earlier. I started reading it before Skin Game. I think I started reading it just as Cold. I think I caught up right about 5 months after Cold Days came out.
Yeah, no, I was reading before that. I had to wait for Ghost Story.
Oh man,
Yeah.
that must have been a bitch and a half. You probably just thought the series was over then.
No, I did. I knew that there was another book coming out. I'm fairly sure it said that there was another book coming out, but I was just like, what? Why?
I'm sure.
I was
I'm
like 12 at the time, and I remember
no.
after finishing reading it, I went into my mum's room and was like, this just happened. Help. What's happening?
Mommy, help me, please.
Yeah, Changes came out what? Like 2010?
Changes was April 6th, 2010, yeah. Ghost Story didn't come out until
Jesus.
July 2011.
Oof. Yeah, that's rough.
I'm sure Butcher had to very carefully clarify that it was not the end of the series. It was just a cliffhanger. I'm sure if he hadn't clarified that,
He would have lost a lot of the fan base.
Well, no, I'm fairly sure by that point it was very well known that the series was intended for like 20 books.
20 books plus an ending
trilogy, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure anybody actually was like, oh, the series is ending with that. I don't think anybody thought that. But it was a case of how the fuck is Harry gonna get out of this one? He's dead.
Yeah.
Are we gonna like
But then-
change protagonists? Is it gonna become the Molly Files?
Oh god, that would have been awful.
That would be kind of terrible.
But yeah, it was a big shock. It was very much a big fucking shock.
Yep.
And honestly,
So those of you that are new Dresden Files fans, be thankful that you don't have to wait for a year plus for to find out what happens after the end of this book.
no, I just thought I had to wait 6 years for peace talks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that was something.
And now we have no idea how long it's going to be until the next one. Is the next one Mirror Mirror, or has that changed?
No, it's a new book. I can't remember
months.
exactly what the title is. It's something. It's a number days, and it's covering basically the year after Battleground.
It is 12 months.
12
It
months.
is called
What
12.
I was close because I was thinking 365 days.
No, but that
Oh,
would
no.
break the theme naming.
But Battleground, that's book number
But yeah,
what? 18?
Just a
17.
bit of
17.
17.
Just a bit of
So we still
trivia
got
that
a few.
I'm sure everyone has realized by this point, but just in case you don't think about these things, which is perfectly natural.
Mhm.
So every single book thus far, except for changes, importantly enough, has had a title consisting of 2 words with the same number of letters.
Yeah.
Yes.
And from what we know, there's literally only 2 exceptions to this. Changes and the names of the apocalyptic trilogy have been revealed, and one of them is Stars and Stones.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be the first one of the 3, I believe.
It's either the first one or the last one.
Hmm.
Oh, he hasn't said which order they're
No,
going to
he
be
has
in?
not stated the order. We know they're going to be Hell's Bells, Empty Night, Stars and Stones. I'm guessing Hell's Bells first, Empty Night second, Stars and Stones last.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Because
But we'll,
Hell's Bells, because the bell tolls.
Yeah.
and
But
Yeah.
everything.
let's get back onto changes because yeah, this is a hell of a book.
So, what are the important revelations we realize here?
The relational revelations of Maggie existing and Ebenezer being Harry's grandfather, for one.
Yeah,
Those
can we
are the
talk?
biggest one.
Also,
That little-
Mouse definitely chose Harry.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, Mouse can talk.
Yeah,
Mouse can talk when they're
Mouse can
dogs.
think on a sentient level, sapient level.
We
Yeah,
knew
no, not
that
only-
already.
No, we knew that already. We already knew he was a magic dog.
Yeah.
I mean, he displayed straight up magical powers before. No,
True.
Mouse can talk. It's just that humans are too dumb to understand him.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only when the group that they take into Chichen Itza is transformed into hounds do they understand Mouse.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah, that was a
And-
fun bit.
And it's heavily implied that Mouse can take Leia in a fight.
Yeah, because
it's
because
heavily
as
implied that Mouse is a powerful motherfucker.
well, the point is that Mouse basically goes, yeah, I can do that because I cheat. I live with a wizard.
So, okay,
Mhm.
a bit of clarification on temple dogs. They're threshold guardians,
Yeah.
like that one Kingdom Hearts boss. So the thing about these threshold guardians is that we've talked about the threshold before, how it's got like this sort of conceptual, both conceptual and real weight to it, the threshold of a house, and it has a lot of magical significance. And apparently, the temple dogs draw their power from the strength of the threshold they reside in, which
Which, if
makes
it's
sense.
a loving family, is like a very strong
A loving
threshold. But
family
also,
is
if it's a
something that I-
wizard, it's cheating because he has power regardless of whether it's a loving family and strong threshold
Yes.
or not.
It's like it's actually been established that Harry's threshold is actually kind of like pathetically
Flimsy.
weak. Yes, not
It's like a screen door in a hurricane.
Yes, is not really any like fault of his own. It's just kind of a natural consequence of his life. But
His lifestyle.
yes, but
He's a bachelor.
which I feel like as bachelors in this call, I believe all of us, we should probably be somewhat offended by that, but I can totally understand the reasoning.
Yeah. Same.
But yeah, the thing is, it's interesting because they're already powerful enough, even with a weak threshold. And the fact that Harry's a wizard and he can basically tap into Harry's wizardness on top of that.
Yep.
Yeah, Mouse is crazy busted.
I love Mouse. He is probably my favorite character in the entire series. Is Mouse.
Okay, can I just say I cannot imagine him speaking without a British accent for some reason. Like a very
Nah,
popular
I could see him with like an Aussie accent, or like actually maybe a
No.
Scottish accent.
Okay, I can live with Scottish. Because that
Yeah, like
seems
Scottish I think would make the
there's
most
something
sense for
about
him.
Scottish talking dogs that I think is just.
Because he's a mountain dog, and Scotland is known for its
Okay,
highlands.
If we're being realistic about his region, he's from he's Tibetan,
Himalayas. Yeah,
Tibetan.
he's from Tibet.
and I don't
So he
think
would
we're
probably
allowed to talk
have-
about I
He's
don't
a
think those
Tibetan
accents.
Mastiff on steroids. I know.
But yes, anyway, we're gushing too much about Mouse, even though he's the best character in the series.
Mouse, my beloved. My
Best
beloved
boy.
dog. The
Best
goodest
boy.
of
He's the
dogs.
best boy in the series, yes. That's without question. So, Mouse is very strong. We learn that. Okay, let's talk about Ebenezer a little bit.
Oh yeah.
How do you guys feel about sort of what went on with Ebenezer and Harry and like that entire situation?
In this book,
As of changes.
No, in their past. Given the information we know now,
Like he was definitely a mentor figure to Harry, and
he
like a
was
grandfather
family, right?
figure.
I don't think I don't think anyone's going to dispute that he was just outright family.
Yeah, he was
Harry.
family to Harry, without even knowing about the blood relationship. They were
No,
family.
here's something I'm curious about. When is it that you think Ebenezer learned about the blood relationship?
Immediately. I think as soon
I think
as he
he
saw
knew
Harry.
about it
I think
early
he,
on. I think he knew about it before.
He probably had a similar sort of logic for not saying anything. Or for not taking him in. But I think, what's funny? As horrible as it is, Dumorn kind of gave him an excuse.
So here's the thing. By this point, obviously it wasn't released at this point in the series, but it was written prior to, chronologically it was written prior. We've seen Morgan's diary. We know
Right.
that that people knew that that Harry was Margaret Le Fay's son.
How many people knew that
If Morgan knew, Ebenezer knew. There's no way.
No. How many people? No. What I'm curious about is how many people knew that Morgan Le Fay was Ebenezer's daughter, because apparently that was a secret well kept enough that people didn't try and make use of it until Ariana did.
I think at least the council knew, and then probably the top warden, Morgan.
Morgan isn't the top warden though, or he wasn't.
Lucio is, but so Lucio and Morgan probably knew out of the wardens, but that would be it.
If any of the wardens knew, it would be them, but I don't know if they knew or not.
I don't know that Ebenezer necessarily trusts the wardens either.
If anyone on the senior council knew, it'd be Ebenezer, Listens
The
to Win,
gatekeeper.
Rashid, and maybe Martha Liberty.
I just assumed I just assumed that Rashid knows everything.
Rashid
At this point.
Rashid is the one who definitely knows, and I can definitely see him telling listens to Wind as well.
No,
I can see
I
listens
would.
to Wind knowing on his own.
I'm trying to remember exactly what Ebenezer has said about what happened with Margaret Le Fay, and I'm fairly sure that she was part of the council and that he was her teacher. So surely that relationship would have been known.
Yes, but again, that's the thing that I'm because like blood ties and ties between mentor and mentee are distinctly different, and that it's a difference that is absolutely made clear.
Because blood relation can be exploited through magic.
Yes.
And so keeping your blood relation secret is advantageous for a wizard.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I think that like Ebenezer really kept hush hush about being Harry's grandfather and Margaret Le Fay's father, is because like it was just for his own protection and for their protection. Like he didn't want them targeted because they were his kids and grandkids, and he wanted to be targeted because of their potential enemies too.
Yeah, so it's kind of this whole like messy web of secrets, and it ended up basically screwing over everyone in the end, as these things tend to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a drawback. That there was the drawbacks of that mentality were very much exposed in this book.
And the problem is, there's really not much a lot of them could have done different.
Yeah, like it was damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Exactly.
That's what I got. That's the sense I got.
That's really the crux of the matter, and it's a shame, but it's like sort of just how this goes.
How the cookie crumbles, so to speak.
And that's how the cookie crumbles. Back to you, Jim.
Anyways.
So yeah, I think Ebenezer did the best he could. So here's the thing: wasn't Dumorn like pretty well liked among the council? Like they didn't know he was evil.
charismatic.
No,
I
they
don't know about well liked, but he was respected at the very least.
yeah, they
well,
certainly
you know
didn't
what
know.
I mean. It's like no one knew he was like evil, is what I'm saying.
On that, no one knew that we know of.
So I'm sure Ebenezer was kind of like, okay, he could do worse. He's in decent hands. And then he found out, and then I'm sure if at that point, if Dumorn wasn't already dead, I'm sure he wouldn't have lived long.
But
Mhm.
the point
You
is
do
there
not-
was some force that was hiding Dumorn and Harry from the council.
Were they hiding Dumorn as well, or just Harry?
What?
Dumorn and Harry, because I think
I would
it was, like,
assume they'd
Dumorn's
have
black
to.
magic dealings.
Yeah, I'd assume they'd have to hide Dumorn because it's like, huh. You know that old guy, Justin Dumorn? He helped out in the Kemmler raid, yet he just picked up 2 teenagers. Really?
Ah, yes, it's very suspicious.
What do they look like? Well, one's a girl, but one's a kid. Kind of the same description as that kid that Morgan and McCoy were looking for. Should we tell them? It's probably nothing.
You know what's funny though? I'm sure there's enough intercouncil politicking that if the wrong person found out, they just wouldn't tell them. Yes.
Yeah, that's always been one of the weaknesses of the council.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the weaknesses of any organization, right? Any organization that is not like a straight up dictatorship ruled by fear has inherently these issues of a dictatorship ruled by fear and or power also has issues, but internal division is usually not one of them. Rebellion is, but like that's slightly different flavor.
Yeah.
Basically, what we're trying to say is that people are just awful everywhere.
Anyway,
that.
what was
Well,
our
that's not a
original topic?
secret.
What was our original topic before we, you know?
You should. Okay, fine.
I'm just trying.
Well, no, we were talking about how we feel about Ebenezer's handling of the matter of Harry in general. Which I think he did the best he could. But yes, moving on.
So I
So we
mean,
talked about the fellowship.
the issue is obviously I think we already know that Margaret Le Fay was
No.
Ebenezer's apprentice. When did we find that
No,
out?
we did not know that.
Did we not? Okay, yeah, I can totally buy that. We knew very little about Harry's mother, other than she was also a wizard and quite powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Or we don't know about her being powerful, but we do know enough. We basically know that she was like enough to catch the eye of some powerful individuals. Not just King Wraith, but like that was the most obvious one.
Yeah, she was in some shady shit.
Yeah, she was not necessarily one of the most straightforward members of the council, though to be fair, her father was the Blackstaff, who is the council's resident hitman.
Mhm.
So, you know.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people didn't know that they were connected that way, though.
Yes, but everyone was like, "Oh, it's just," and they also bickered a lot, which made people think, "Oh, like they're not really that close, so there's no point of playing them against each other somehow."
Okay, so it does actually say at the end of Changes that Margot Le Fay was his apprentice, so we can talk about it in that sense. So, look, we know that Ebenezer was like quite. We found out in like death masks. Might that have been when we found out? I don't fucking know.
About what?
Possibly.
About basically, I'm trying to remember because we know that Ebenezer has talked about how he trained Margaret and basically was too sort of smothery with her, and so that was why
Yes,
she
and
broke
he
out
was
on her
right.
own and went to Wraith. I think that was either Death Masks or Blood Rites, something like that.
Yes, he basically was. He was overprotective of her and didn't give her enough freedom, and that's why she kind of rebelled.
Yeah.
Which, you know, that's kind of a classic. It's a tale as old as time, really.
So what I'm saying is he overcorrected with Harry.
He overcorrected, though. I think
He overcorrected until the Dumorn shit happened, and they was like, okay, this is gonna end up with my grandson head being lying on the concrete. I gotta step in now.
Yeah, which I think. Wait, was Morgan like? We know Morgan's diaries at this point. Was Morgan like thirsty
For
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 Harry's mom?
Lucio, yeah.
no, it was Lucio. Lucio was the only one he ever cared about.
Oh, then what
Yeah.
was his thing with Harry's? Oh God, did Morgan get NTR'd by Harry?
No. Oh,
Well,
Sort of.
kinda. We're
Sort of,
getting
maybe.
off topic. We're getting off topic.
okay, yeah, never mind then. But yeah, it's kind of just like
So apparently Morgan knew Margaret and made a promise to her to protect Harry.
right. That's what I was
Right.
thinking of.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Which, you know,
And
It has-
Morgan
it-
did
yeah.
know about the familial thing because he actually says in the diary the Blackstaff couldn't let his daughter's son be neutralized.
Okay,
Which-
so he did know.
Yeah.
yeah, it's like definitely an interesting way of going at that whole protection thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the point is by that point Morgan knows a lot apparently because he also knew about stuff that we'll get into in Cold Days.
One
That
of
meant
the most senior wardens. It makes sense
Hmm.
that he knew so much.
but it meant that he basically was like, I can't trust that he hasn't been compromised to an extent. So I have to make sure that he is, not gonna go black magic. And he does even say, perhaps I've been too hard on him. Perhaps I really have become paranoid and mad. Perhaps I have wronged a good man. The thought of allowing a destroyer to be birthed among us when I could have stopped it is too heavy to bear. So, yeah, Morgan real worried about something called a destroyer.
We don't know if that's an actual. Was that actually capitalized?
Yes.
Oh,
Capital
dear.
capital
That's a
D
proper noun?
destroyer.
Oh, that's a proper noun that that I had forgotten about. Oh dear, it's never a good thing when destroyer is a proper noun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, back into the actual meat of the book. We need to talk about Martin at some point.
Yeah.
I feel
He was basically desperate and powerless, and he took the first opportunity he got. Is my interpretation of the character.
well. I mean, he was planning shit for a long time, though.
He was
is
just
the
trying to
thing.
be on the winning
Yes.
side no matter what.
Yes, but at the same time, he was I would less call it plans and more like he basically just set up a bunch of dominoes and was ready for basically any of them to fall. Like, it basically, any one of the dominoes had to fall. He absolutely did Galaxy Brain it. It worked, but he had no idea if it would even work, let alone when it would work. He just saw his chance and took it.
He took a shot.
Probably his ideas became much more fixed once he learned about the possibility of a bloodline curse and that they were going to do one. Right? I think he was banking a lot on Dresden's competence, which is, one might argue, not the smartest move.
Oh, absolutely not.
But yeah, he was basically banking on the idea that Dresden would get to the ritual site and that I don't think he would have necessarily always sacrificed Susan. If the circumstances were right, I don't think he would have had a problem with being the one on the table.
Yeah.
It's just the opportunity wasn't there.
I think he absolutely saw the opportunity to bait Susan into going for his throat. And not to mention, he probably was like I think he was well aware that he was going to die, because slight spoilers for what we know, what we find out in a later book, but in destroying the Red Court, Harry also wipes out the spirits of the half vampires that hadn't fully transformed yet, and if they were sufficiently old enough, they just died. Which
doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
And, Martin at that point was a century and a half old at least. He was gonna die.
Oh, yeah.
I'm, kind of confused about that, because the implication is that their body stops aging.
Yep.
And
yeah, it's the vampiric parasite that's keeping their body from aging.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think that's how biology works, that if your body stops aging for whatever reason, the moment the thing that's stopping it from aging goes away, it just ages into dust.
You were thinking of this from way too scientific of an angle.
Yeah, this is magic, bro. This is magic, bro.
Look, Dresden Files does have one of the more sort of scientifically minded magic systems. Like, they like they talk about how heat works and heat transfer and things like that. So like, don't give me that about like, oh, it's magic.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Still, though.
In
I
terms
think-
of lifespan, it's magic in terms of like age can hit you at different rates depending on the kind of magic you're using.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, we don't know because our source on that isn't particularly unbiased. But we will get to that in a later stream. So yeah, I mean, one would assume that once do you think that maybe so obviously Ariana knew that Harry was Ebenezer's grandson, but didn't know about Maggie until Martin told her. So were they planning to do the ritual but with Harry as the base?
That's also possible, right?
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely. I think it would be worth taking out Dresden for the sake of taking out the Blackstaff, right? Because
Yeah.
like,
It'd be worth any of the trouble in their minds that Harry could cause. They don't
Harry
know
is
that
like,
Harry is
you know-
the best troublemaker in the entire world.
they know that he's like powerful, but the thing is, and this is something that
No, he has a
Harry admits
penchant
to-
for causing trouble despite like no matter what kind of power he has.
No, but that's the thing is that they are used to looking at it from a purely power level perspective, and as it's established, Harry is young. He's literally not. He's barely hit a 10th of a wizard's lifespan.
Yep.
Assuming he's on the younger side, because we know that
He's
400
like late
is
20s at this point.
no, he's like
Or
in his
early
like
30s.
30-odd years.
he's in his
It's
like
like
late
mid-30s.
30s.
So Harry is 25 at the beginning of the series, and this is about 10, 11, 12 years later. So he's about 36.
Yeah,
give or
it's
take a
assumed
year.
that it's 1 year per book, so he'd be 36, 37-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he's like he's not even a 10-year-old by wizard standards.
Yep.
He's very much not nearly as strong as he eventually will be. So it's kind of the optimal. Like, to them, I feel like they think, oh, well, in terms of raw power, it doesn't really, like, there's not much of a difference between a human 8-year-old and a wizard 8-year-old.
Yep.
Right? So, like, to them, there might not be that big a difference between Maggie and Harry, even though, obviously... Because, again, remember, the entrenched powers tend to be egotistical as all hell in this series. They very much considering this is a series where the literal biblical god exists and is probably the top of the power ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
In a world like that, of course pride goeth before the fall, or cometh. I don't know scripture very well, but you know what I mean. You know, everyone knows the quote I'm talking about.
Yep.
Oh yeah, we know.
So yeah, it makes sense that like they are just excessively, stupidly prideful, and it comes back to bite them repeatedly.
Oh, all the time. But yeah, what else do we want to talk about in this? Because there's the group that goes over to Chichen Itza, the Fellowship of the Ring, of course.
Yeah. So
And
we've
they
got
have this whole back and forth about who's which member of the Fellowship.
so the group altogether is Thomas, Mouse, Sanya, Knight of Maybe, Leah, Martin, Harry, Murphy, Molly, and Susan.
Mm-hmm.
I keep forgetting which one is. Oh, right. Didn't they decide Martin was Mr. Frodo?
No, Martin
No.
was Boromir.
Yeah, which is oddly fitting.
Yeah.
You know,
The most boring one who should have died first.
Butcher knew
Fuck
what he
you,
was.
No,
Sean
no,
Bean
no.
is not boring.
No, not the most boring one. The one who turns out to be the most easy to succumb to temptation and fall.
Mm-hmm.
True.
And also the most morally ambiguous one.
Yes.
But yeah, Harry wanted to be Gandalf. He turned out to be Sam, which is actually fitting.
Yes.
Who turned out to
And
be-
of course,
was-
Susan was Frodo.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, that. Oh dear.
Hey, it fits.
Uh,
Who are the other two hobbits?
So it wasn't actually stated, but the speculation is that Murphy was Merry and Molly is Pippin.
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh yeah, that really makes sense.
Yeah.
Or the whole
I really, really like that one meme of Gandalf going like, the bad news is that Sauron knows everything Pippin knows. The good news is that Pippin knows jack shit.
Yeah. What the fuck
but-
is second breakfast?
Yeah, what was the other thing? I know Leia was Gandalf and
Leia wa-
Sonya was Aragorn.
Aragorn. Mouse is Gimli and Thomas is Legolas.
That tracks. Of fucking course,
Yeah.
They
Thomas
all-
is Legolas.
They do have that dynamic as well, don't they?
Yeah.
It's very similar
Yeah.
to like, because like they like each other, but like bicker good naturedly. I'm pretty sure. Like this is just my headcanon. I have no idea if this is true or not. But do you guys vaguely feel that Thomas can maybe sort of kind of understand what Mouse is saying more reliably
would-
than Harry can?
I would not be super surprised,
Perhaps.
honestly.
'Cause
Maybe he
he's
can
got
read
the
his
whole
body
vampire
language
empathy
better.
thing. He's got his white court empathy thing going on, and
Yeah.
he's got like
So
I don't know,
maybe he
just-
can read his body language and emotions better than most. But
And
yeah,
at
I don't know.
least,
I don't know if he can directly
no, I don't think
communicate
he
that.
can directly understand, but I do think he can speak Mouse better than Harry can.
Probably.
Oh yeah, no, that's never been in doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
I
the
mean,
whole
more so
fellowship of
because
the ring.
Harry's clueless than because Thomas can understand him especially well. But yeah,
Harry is a clueless motherfucker. We know this.
He's a himbo. There's like this is known. Harry
No,
is
he's
just a
just-
straight up himbo.
He's too smart to be a himbo.
no, he's
No, I
smart in
think-
some ways, not in
no,
other ways.
Yes, himbo is like I've always seen it as more
Himbo is
personality
not
type than-
Himbo is not just like complete moron. Himbo is smart in some very specific areas and then a complete moron in everything else.
Himbo is not.
Pure definition of himbo. Pure of heart, dumb of ass, hot of bod.
Are you saying Harry is not dumb of ass?
And
Yeah.
hot
No,
of
I am
bod.
not.
Harry is
I
both
am-
dumb of ass and hot of bod. Let's be honest.
Do you think he's pure of heart, though? Do you really think he's pure of heart?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, what are you talking about?
The rest of it, considering the world he lives in, yes.
Okay, by Dresden world standards, yes.
He is
Yeah,
so
we-
pure of heart.
We can't
He's like
use a
the
hero
most
for
one of
himbos.
the most optimistic characters in the series besides like Michael.
Mm.
And Michael is literally has the power of God and possibly anime on his side.
Speaking
Yes.
speaking
Yes, he
of the
Power of God and anime.
well, yes. Just Sonya in general is so fucking wonderful.
Sonya,
Sonya is great.
My favorite Knight of the Cross.
He's
Mhm.
a top 5 character for me.
Though I will say he does embody an archetype that I'm usually not a fan of. I'm not necessarily a fan of it in the Dresden Files either.
Which is
Which archetype?
The flat Earth atheist archetype, which he's not an atheist, he's agnostic, but it's just
Yeah.
like it's the whole my brother in Christ. You are a literal knight of God and have met archangels. It's just like
He's a skeptic.
I get it. I get
it's
it.
funny. It's really
It's
fucking
funny.
funny, honestly.
It really is.
He's
It's
the knight
very-
of
it's
maybe.
Great.
He is the knight of maybe.
And
It
it is
is one of
hilarious.
the best jokes in the series.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I'm a fan of the trope in general.
Especially
Fair.
when Sonya swears in Russian, "My God," and Harry just goes, "There's some real irony in your using that expression."
It's irony, but not irony, but then it loops back around to being irony again.
It's kind of just like
Speaking of Knights of the Cross, actually,
Exactly.
the other two swords come along on this one, and
it turns out.
and Susan wield them.
It turns out that. Oh, you know what's funny? Not only do Murphy and Susan wears them, later doesn't Thomas pick up the Sword of Love and use it temporarily?
I don't remember.
I
I
don't
think
recall.
he tries and then it burns him.
No, I don't
I
think it. No, there was no sword burning people here in this book. But yeah, it turns out the swords are available on loan as long as you're like
Sufficiently
just-
In the right
motivated.
frame of mind at the time. Like if you are in
Yeah.
the right mindset, you can wield it.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
Susan,
but
despite
turns
being a vampire, which would ordinarily get burned by the damn thing.
Well, no, we've never seen a good vampire wield the sword, so we don't actually know for sure that a vampire gets burned.
And she wasn't a full vampire at the time.
Yes, that too. So yeah, we don't necessarily know that a good vampire would be burned by the sword.
True.
We just know that like there aren't that many, and they're usually not in a position to try.
Yeah, true. Very true.
But yeah,
But yeah,
They
Susan
do-
specifically gets the Sword of Love, and Murphy the Sword of Faith, which is fitting for both women, I
Mhm.
think, based
Yeah,
on their stated reasoning for going on this expedition.
and of course, there is the
Paradox?
eternal. Yeah, sorry, I was yawning. There is the eternal issue of who's the Galadriel in this situation?
That'd probably be Ebenezer. No, wait, no. That's not right.
Peter's the what's his face? Why am I forgetting his name? The Lord of Rivendell.
Elrond.
Elrond, that's his name. Why do I forget Hugo Weaving's name?
L. Ron
Ah.
Hubbard?
No, Elrond.
No, definitely not. But yeah,
Galadriel,
now
maybe Mab?
yeah. If
Probably
if
Mab.
if Leia can be Gandalf, then I'm sure Mab can be Galadriel. Even though funnily enough, I'm pretty sure Gandalf is just in context much more powerful.
Yeah.
Though he's just more limited.
Mm-hmm.
We're off topic
But
again.
yeah, yes, we're off topic again. So yeah, the Fellowship was very well done, and I'm like surprised. Honestly, I'm surprised by how fitting it is.
Mm.
It was not guaranteed to be as fitting as it was.
Yeah, no, it wasn't, but it turned out to be pretty damn fitting.
Yeah, because it's like, well, here's the thing. Well, no, he could have like contrived it to fit in a number of ways. I'm just surprised that it fits so naturally.
Yeah.
Though it makes
Yeah,
me wonder, do you
so-
think he just had that in his back pocket from like early in the planning stages and just didn't know when to use it?
That is entirely possible. I would
Right?
not
Because
put
like
it
I
past
have
Jim
to
Butcher.
imagine this would not be the first Avengers Assemble of the series that he
No.
had potentially. It ended up being it, but like I'm sure he had other possible Avengers Assemble moments.
He might have started with the assemble moment and then like wrote the lead up after that.
That's also possible. Yeah, no, that's like
That'd be like I feel like that'd be a really cool way to write.
I don't know.
That's
I
what
mean,
people write. That's just because
Yeah.
like sometimes you just like have a really cool idea and you just write your story around it. It can go badly, but how a lot of people write. A lot of people plan out like important story beats before they ever get to that point in the story.
Mm-hmm.
And we won't know unless Butcher ever says anything. But it's
Mm-hmm.
It's not like he's particularly tight-lipped either. Like he's
no.
rarely unwilling to say this stuff, so it's kind of just like, well, we'll see. But yeah, so Fellowship covered. Shall we talk about a little bit about the Red Court? And in particular, they are named after Mesoamerican deities, specifically the Mayan ones, I believe.
Mm.
I mean, it fits because of all the blood sacrifice and such.
Or like the Aztecs,
But
maybe? Or...
there's a twist. When possessed by the spirit of God in anime, is it Murphy?
Murphy, yeah.
Murphy.
Who denounces them for their crimes against the Maya. So it is
False gods, pretenders, usurpers of truth, destroyers of faith, of families, of lives, of children, for your crimes against the Mayans, against the peoples of the world. Now will you answer? Your time has come. Face judgment almighty.
Yes. So it's implied that, and considering that, like, conquistadors are involved as well, I have to imagine some of that crossover. But yeah, so they aren't actually the real Mayan gods. They just co-opted it. And knowing what we know about mantles, right?
I mean,
Because we've seen the Summer Lady mantle transfer sort of process. We've seen the Night mantle transfer. So we know mantles are a thing. So it's possible they somehow managed to kill the gods and steal their mantles.
maybe.
Possibly. It's very vague. Bit of a stretch on it, I think.
Let me.
So
We just don't have a lot of evidence for that directly.
but that's what's implied by that speech.
Well,
Or no, you know what? Maybe they didn't necessarily kill the gods. They just co-opted them because we know a lot of gods are dormant
Yeah.
at any
Well, the
time.
point
Yeah,
is
I'm
that,
pretty
the
sure.
point is they're so old that it's possible that the Red King just presented himself as a god.
Yeah, that's the other possibility.
I don't know.
There's
Just
no
something
there's
about
no saying
their...
that those gods existed in this universe.
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like they might have. And then the Red Court co-opted them. Because, like, the Mesoamerican civilization is old, and we don't have a lot... Because, like, it's one of the cradles of civilization, right?
How
Or
old?
two of the
How old
cradles
would
of
you? How
civilization
old
were
would
in-
you say?
Huh?
How old would you say?
Based on archaeological findings, we're talking, like, around the same time as, like, ancient Egypt and the Indus River Valley civilization.
So, civilization as a whole, yes. The Mayas, no. The Mayans were about 1,000 years ago.
Gods tend to be holdovers from previous civilizations. That's like something that's been
The
established.
previous
Like,
one in the area was the Olmec, who were around like 500 AD.
yeah, the Olmec have been the Olmec were in fact one of the earliest civilizations on the.
There have been other records of others before that, but they didn't have writing systems that we know of.
Yeah, that we know of.
But yeah. But the oldest one I believe that we have writing systems for are the Mayans, and they came in around 1,000 years ago or so.
Basically, the point I'm trying to make is that they're old enough that, and especially given what we know about like the Venatorian stuff and like how old civilization is on this planet in general, it's not outside. I don't think it's outside of the question.
So Dresden estimated the Red King at 4,000 years old.
Yeah, there were already older civilizations there by that time.
Just none that we have solid records of.
Yes. Well, we know they existed. We just don't have their like writings.
Mm-hmm.
The point is that the guess is that he just, set himself up as a god.
Yeah. Speaking of the Red King, though, he's also just been. So he and Ariana have been playing against each other for a bit and trying to manipulate each other throughout this book, at the very least. And he generally plays up his himself as devolving into bloodlust to kind of keep people from just keening on to the fact that he's a lot more savvy than he currently appears.
Mm-hmm.
And he manipulates Ariana into a duel with Harry that she rather fatally loses.
I mean,
He
let's
also-
let's talk about that moment for a second, because Harry just really does just take her apart, and basically it ends with like Ariana saying, "You are cattle," and Harry just goes, "Moo."
And kicks her ass.
I mean, cows kill people. This is known.
Yeah.
It's called cow tipping. Ha ha.
Oh my god, I have not thought about that movie in
God,
decades.
I'm so glad you got that reference.
that movie is
I
so old.
That is such a weird movie.
Oh, yeah.
Is.
Why does that movie exist?
I don't know
Yeah,
what
I
movie
don't
you're talking
know.
about.
Back in the barnyard.
Nope, not heard of it.
I think that's what. Yeah.
We don't know. It was just Barnyard, and then the bad Nickelodeon TV series was Back at the Barnyard that completely
right.
disappointed the original movie.
Oh, yeah, true.
Don't remember it.
You're on the cow farm. You gonna see some cows.
There's also the scene where Harry first meets the Red King with the translator, which is hilarious because Harry decides to be as difficult as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And when he's actually trying, he can
very
be very,
usual.
very difficult.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
In that he tried to make the translator, who was translating from English to Ancient Mayan, translate radical, wicked cool.
Yeah.
Yep. Gotta love trolling translators.
Yeah.
No, that
They're
did.
just trying to do their jobs.
Well,
Well,
They
the
use more
Red
doing
the
it
Red
to
King
make the
used
king uncomfortable.
the Red King
Yeah.
could actually speak English and just used it as a way to get out of his bargain, because I think he said that if
Yeah, I never
Harry
made
beat
him.
Ariana, he would let Maggie go. And it was like, translator made the promise. I didn't make the promise. Fuck you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know that. I remember that.
Yeah. Which is, actually pretty smart.
Clever. Dick move, but clever.
Complete dick move, yeah, but clever.
it's also something I feel they should have
Accounted for.
accounted for that. Yeah.
Oh well,
They should
nothing they
have-
can do about it.
Yeah, and it's kind of just like, Okay, are we going to talk about the climactic battle, or is there anything else?
I mean, I want to talk about
battle.
Vadarung.
Yes.
Oh
okay.
yeah, let's talk about that wrong.
Because we've heard about Vadarung on and off throughout the series, especially once Guard showed up, and we finally get to meet him, and he's a fucking cool dude.
Yeah, he's rad.
Well, he's the closest thing the series has to a big good, but I do think we should not make any mistakes about him being good in the same way because I'm sure he's one of those greater good type characters who may or may not do bad things for good reasons.
I can see that for sure.
Yeah, I don't think it would be safe to assume he's like always
I mean,
on their
he is a
side.
Norse god. He's a Viking god, so he's gonna have
Yeah,
violent
and Odin
tendencies.
in the mythology does not have the best of reputations.
Oh, absolutely not.
So
I can think of one god in any mythology off the top of my head. Two. I can think of two gods off the top of my head in mythology that are just decent people.
Which ones?
Hestia in Greek and Balder in Norse.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the whole point of Baldur is that he was too good for the sinful world.
Yes, almost literally. Yeah,
Yes.
so it's kind of just like that's just how these things go apparently, but
So,
yes. Okay. Go ahead, Mel. What were you saying?
I mean, what was I gonna say?
yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm just searching for. I'm searching through the completely official copy of the book I've got up in front of me for the scene with Vadarung.
Mm.
He did make a point about how
There it is.
Yggdrasil is apparently a skyscraper in Norway now. So that's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's see. I'm just trying to see how like early Dresden goes. Yeah, Vadarung is Odin, isn't he?
He does at one point also.
Don't forget
I mean,
that
Hugin and
he has
Munin
three
were
secretaries with raven black hair.
yes, Hugin and Munin were kind of
Dead giveaways,
dead
yes.
giveaways. Yes, no, I feel like he suspected or he knew the moment he learned that Guard was a Valkyrie.
Possibly, but
Mhm.
Like, who
I mean,
else is gonna be
I'm reading when
the leader of the Valkyries?
yeah, I'm reading when he walks in and he's like, I think I've got a pretty good idea what he's in charge of. So yeah,
And I do like that he addresses himself as Donut Boy,
yeah,
which that's really like that's kind of his reputation now, isn't it? It's like that was a very smart move on his part, by the way.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I can never talk about it enough, but like it was a good move. But
Oh, it's
I would have gone
exceptionally
for
clever.
I would have gone for something more in the lines of chocolate myself. I'm not really one for the white frosting, but you know, to each their own.
Yeah, yeah, to each their own.
Yeah, and so he's like he has realized who it is, and he realizes where he is, but at the same time, he does basically stand up to Vadarung in the heart of his power,
Mm-hmm.
which is apparently the big thing about humans. Technically speaking, humans are the only really creatures we have seen so far with total free will,
Mhm.
Yes.
and that makes their will just naturally more suitable to do a lot of things in that regard than most other people.
Mm. That it does.
Okay, so
Though,
just going back a few topics, because I've just had a thought on it by reading
oh, of course, yeah.
the Vadarung stuff. So when we were talking about the Red King, you said that we were talking about whether he was a god or not, and I think that there needs to be a distinction made between God and capital G God. The same
Well,
way that in
no.
the same way that in the series there are dragons and then there are capital D dragons.
Well, no, because there's three levels of God here in that case. There's like the entities that are worshipped. Then there's the lowercase g gods, and then there is the big man in the sky, capital G God.
What distinction are you making between the beings that are worshipped and the lowercase g gods?
A mantle.
The mantle doesn't really apply to godhood in this.
Yeah.
It really mantles are only really brought up by name with mention to the fairy courts.
Like
Yes, but
mantles may result in people worshipping the beings for that reason. But that doesn't necessarily you don't have to have a mantle to be a god.
Yeah.
then what? Well, then in that case, the mechanic is poorly explained because I don't know what a god is in this universe. Then
A god is just
Something
somebody
that is-
who has sufficient worship to empower them.
is it
Correct.
a worship thing? Because it's pretty much it's established that Odin has a lot of power, even though he's not actively worshipped anymore.
I mean, I think it's also partially just recognition as a divine
Okay,
figure.
here's the thing.
Yes.
Spoiler warning for later in the books.
Yeah, no, I know what you're gonna say. I don't think we need to get into that particular spoiler because that's a very impactful spoiler.
Yeah.
Yes, I know what you're talking about, and
The point is that Badarung spreads his worship out. He ain't just being
Yeah.
worshipped because he's Odin. Let's put it that way.
well, okay. Hades is very powerful.
That he is, but we can't really talk much about him because spoilers.
Yes, but like there are other gods that are not worshipped actively but are still powerful. Is what I'm trying to say.
Mm.
It's one of those things that I don't think we have like a solid answer for.
I'm trying to find one.
I don't think Butcher's ever really given one. Is the problem?
I don't believe so either.
Like the closest we have to getting solid answers about some of that big stuff is like Word of Jim about some of the Venatori stuff, but like we really don't know much about the top end of the power scale outside of the fairy courts.
We really don't.
And we know the only reason that Mab is as powerful as she is because the fairy courts are the closest to the human world in this cycle, which implies that there is an element of how close they are to the human realm at that point in the Never Never.
Mm.
Anyway, we got off topic again.
Why did we not get off topic with Dresden Files?
It's like that's because the books themselves are important to talk about, but there's so much outside book context and like it's
I mean,
Way too
there's
much
just more
context to
out-
get through.
we're not doing a critical literary analysis of the series.
No, we are not.
Mm. Oh, that would be a fun time, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So, what else? Do we want to get on to the final battle now, then?
As well. It is kind of
So-
important to discuss.
Yes. Now, here's another reason I'm kind of convinced that the Red Court are not really gods. They're not that strong.
I mean, they are pretty strong. It's just they get taken out by chumps by the Fellowship and the Grey Council.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that like they are not really. So like, okay, let's just for scale purposes, right? It's implied that Mab is Mab is one of the upper end, and it's implied that not implied. She's so powerful that you need the entire White Council at the same time with her true name using some sort of ritual magic to take her down. And meanwhile, a reasonably strong wizard can go, like a member of the senior council can go solo against a member of the 12 what's his faces of the Red Court. So it just feels like there's a big divide there.
The Red King is supposedly on Mab's level, but he's only one of them. The rest of them are more senior council member levels.
Yeah,
from what
but they all hold the name of gods, right? Like they all are god levels, and Kukulkan is the Red King is given the name of Kukulkan, and Kukulkan wasn't even like the big daddy
So
of the Mayan
basically,
pantheon.
so the point is that yes, at one point the Red King and his Lords of the Outer Night, because they got to have a tuney name.
It's so chuny.
Were basically were gods, were worshipped by entire civilizations, but that's not the case anymore. They are akin to the older gods that have fallen out of favor in because of the white god and the other
Which is funny because they do have a dedicated like following of their slaves that they bring up to worship them.
Yes. Vadarung also says the power of their blood spread out among thousands of offspring. So it could be that they have to give up some of their power to.
So the implication then is that they have a collective pool of power.
Something
appears
along
so,
those
yeah.
lines.
Like they don't really gain any more power. They just divide what power already exists among existing. Basically, they are beholden to the law of conservation.
Mm-hmm. So let me.
I guess kinda.
Let me see if I can find anything from Butcher about Red Court vampires.
Yeah, because Red Court kind of isn't relevant anymore now that they've been, exterminated.
No, but they're an interesting case study.
Exterminate.
They're an interesting case study because we probably know more about the Red Court because they've been exterminated than we do about any of the other extant forces in the series.
Exterminate.
Shut up, Dalek.
How did Dr. Fair in Dresden Files land? That well? Well, he'd do well enough, but I feel like there's only so much he can do with a sonic screwdriver.
His abilities just aren't really suited for the sort of narrative the Dresden Files is.
No, you know what? No, because he would do excellently in the Dresden Files universe simply because he's very tricksy. He's basically the Doctor is basically a trickster god, like a very benevolent trickster god.
Yep.
So yeah, he would do very well because like he would probably run circles around the most of the because of how important the bargains and stuff are. He also has the capability of doing a genocide on occasion.
Yep.
So there's
People
that.
forget that the Doctor is a mega genius. That's his superpower.
He's a mega genius, and he has at least.
It's a weapon.
He's done at least one genocide or two.
Yeah.
Or two. He's done a couple of genocides in his time.
Mostly against the Daleks. Repeatedly.
Because and also his own species. Let's not forget that. But yes, anyway, moving on. So there's this whole fight, and obviously, the fact that Thomas is able to hold his own is really the indicator that they're not that strong anymore. Because, like, let's be real. Thomas is, like, not weak, but he's not really the strongest. He's not even the strongest White Court vampire, and White Court vampires are not really that strong in terms of direct combat as it stands.
Mm-hmm.
And that was before they lost their strongest entity.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think Lara is anywhere even close to King Wraith's peak power, is she?
No, but she is a couple centuries old at the very least, so she isn't a pushover by any stretch.
Pushover, but like King Wraith was a peer to like the likes of the Red King and some of the real heavy hitters of the series. So
Like Mavra.
yeah, so it's like it's not like King Wraith was a pushover by any stretch of the imagination.
The point is that the point is that Wraith was all but starved by that point.
Yes,
he couldn't
no, he was
actually
like,
access his power base.
Yeah, no. He's like he was a caster with no mana.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was basically stuck under a perpetual mana drain.
Yes. So it's like understandable, but at his peak, which wasn't even that long ago, because Harry's what, 25? Or well,
He was
no, he's
about
like
30 at the time.
yeah, he was 37 at the time. Okay, he was about 30 at the time when they Wraith got food. But yeah, by that measure, he'd only 3 decades ago or so, he was a tier to some of the most powerful beings in the series outside of the top tier. Like he was firmly at the top of mid tier. I would say.
I guess he didn't know how to ration his energy very well.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be real. Being sensible is not what at least when it comes to their spending, is not what the White Court is known for.
Mm-hmm.
They're like the Kardashians.
I hate how accurate that is. But at the same time, I think I probably dislike of the vampire courts. I personally find the White Court most morally objectionable because they're the most hypocritical about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like
they really try to act like they're not monsters.
Yes, the red and black court at least fully acknowledge. Yeah, no, you're all food. We are superior. It's like, yeah, no, they at least lean into it. But like the most hilarious thing is that the White Court vampires, including up to and including Lara, try to imply that their thralls consent, which is just the most
off topic.
Hypocritical.
Off topic.
Okay, that'll lead me to more on topic later, but yes. Okay, so Mill, you want to take over for the final battle?
I mean, obviously we've got as we've mentioned the battle with Ariana, which was fucking cool because
Ariana was kind of handicapped by it being forced to do a magic versus magic duel.
Yeah.
So she couldn't use her physical advantage against Harry.
Mm-hmm.
Though I don't even know how much of a physical advantage she'd have, considering Harry was the Winter Knight by that point.
Well, he doesn't actually get much of a physical advantage. It's mostly insofar as the limiters from his brain are turned off. So he gets to use his muscles to their full potential.
He's basically Captain America level strength. He's not Hulk level strength or anything.
No, not even Captain America level strength.
We will get onto this discussion later, like two streams time.
Yeah. Anyways, say your bit, Mill.
So I mean, I'm just sort of picking out bits and pieces. So Leah is kind of one of the MVPs of the battle.
Yeah, considering the fact that she's Mab's right hand, and Mab is like
crazy strong.
Is like physical god levels of power. Yeah, it tracks.
Because she took on 7 of the Lords of the Adder Night.
Mm-hmm. Which
And
tracked
murked
for
them all.
Leia.
Murked
No,
2
she
of
didn't
them
murk
in.
them.
She murked 2 of them instantly.
Yeah.
To be fair,
murked
she
all
did
of
have
them.
it was a surprise attack.
Yeah.
No, but she
But
still
yeah, no.
fought 5-on-1 for quite a bit. Which is impressive as hell.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest of the Fellowship takes on the remainder, I believe. Or most of the rest does.
And like they do have the advantage of having what, all 3 swords? Yeah, all 3 swords
3 swords,
of the
yep.
cross, which is basically equivalent to having like
Mode turned on, basically.
yes, it's like
Literal god mode.
yeah, I was gonna say there's very little that can stand up to the concerted effort of all 3 crosses. Well, they're crosses, kind of, but Knights of the Cross at the same time.
They're the nails from the
Uh,
cross.
But yes, it's definitely a much more balanced fight than it has any right to be.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. And then when things start to turn against the Fellowship, the Great Council arrives to turn the tides back.
With their big damn heroes moment.
Yep. Deus
Also-
Ex Machina.
Not really, but kind of.
Mm,
Like Chekhov's gun.
yes, it is much of a because like the Grey Council, it's been established that they exist already.
Mhm.
We didn't know who the membership was, but it's interesting to see that.
Batarong's among them.
Yes,
Vadarung and Ebenezer are
Among
the
Us.
only ones we know for sure. Shut up.
also, did they not reveal that? Did Vadarung teach Merlin, or did Merlin teach Odin at some point?
I don't
Vadarung
recall.
taught Merlin.
What the fuck?
I was talking about the Merlin or the Merlin.
Capital
No,
M,
Merlin.
capital M O G Merwin.
Mirrodin Emrys.
Yeah.
Damn.
But
And
we
oh wait,
we-
we find out down the line that Harry's mentor leadership lineage
his lineage
traces
is
all the
the-
way
is-
back to Merlin.
yes, he is a part of the direct lineage of Merlin, which is
Yep.
interesting because the lineage thing is much more prevalent in East Asian stories because that's kind of a thing where when you acknowledge a master, you kind of become part of their family essentially, and it is
Mhm.
considered a full-on bloodline sort of deal.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Yep.
interesting that they went that Butcher went that route. I wonder how much of that was intentional and how much of that was just like him doing
I
what
mean-
seemed natural at the time.
Master Apprentice chain thing is really fun, though.
It is a thing. It's just I was surprised because it's so much less prevalent in Western media than it is in the Eastern stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's
It's
not even
refreshing.
that common in Japanese media, honestly.
It's
Uh,
refreshing. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, you see it in some shonen, like in Dragon Ball, for instance, but
But that's because Dragon Ball is heavily inspired by a lot of Chinese media
mm-hmm.
in the early sections. It's Journey to the West, right? So obviously it's gonna be. But no, can I point something interesting?
Go
Sure.
Ebenezer calls in a favor owed by a certain race of bird folk. And the thing I find the most interesting is that he refers to them, and Butcher refers to them, as the Kenku.
on. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
The
Mhm.
reason I find that interesting is that that's not a mythological term.
Oh, it's D&D, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the Wizards of the Coast trademark copyrighted D&D name for them. They're based on the Tengu.
Yeah, I was going to say, that might have just been a mistake on Butcher's part.
That might have, yeah, I think that might have just been a sincere mistake.
Yeah,
I
it was
think
possibly a research error.
Yeah, because like he doesn't really do that anywhere else in the series. But it would make sense if it was a mistake, because like yes, I'm sure he's more familiar with D&D than he is with Japanese mythology.
Yeah.
But the actual race that he seems to be implying is the race here, and the race that is very likely, and is the race that the Kenku are inspired by, is the Tengu.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, there's no word of Jim's on it, so I don't know.
I'm curious why. I guess it's because it's obscure enough that, and more people are familiar enough with D&D that they just assume that that's what the mythology is, even though, right? Because like you know how fandoms are. Always assume that your fans are dumb.
It could also
And don't
be.
know
It could also be that we have we know that names are of a particular importance.
Are you saying that in universe they've changed their name to the Kenku because of Dungeons and Dragons?
Yes.
Because that would be hilarious.
Yes, because let's be real.
That would be
Tengu
the perfect
probably
way to fill in that plot hole.
because they can have multiple names, so they can be known as Tengu in the east where they originated, but be known as Kenku in the west where that's gonna get them more play and get them more power.
So you're saying every time someone plays a game of Dungeons and Dragons and argues with the DM over whether or not they can be a Kenku, they gain a little bit of that sweet, sweet magic juice?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that's not the case. I think that would be giving Butcher a bit too much credit, but I desperately want that to be the case.
Well, it might not be the case, but he could play it off as if it is the case.
That's true, yes.
That is his way out of that odd
Yes,
situation.
It's funny. I just find it very funny that is even a possibility.
Also,
that's how it goes in that universe.
Actually,
Anything
yeah.
is possible.
Huh?
Sorry, no, I thought that if it had been Harry calling them Kenku, then that could be an explanation. But no, it was Ebenezer.
Yeah, he is the one. And Ebenezer might play D&D. You never know. He's got to do something for fun. I can just imagine Ebenezer. You know how Harry has his superpowered D&D group?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I can absolutely imagine Ebenezer and Listens to Wind and maybe Vadarung and some of those oldies getting together and just playing D&D on occasion.
That's a stretch.
I don't know about that. It's very established that especially the gods are pretty modern. So who knows, maybe you don't know Vadarung doesn't have a PS5.
Well,
You cannot
PS5 is one thing.
conscience guarantee
Dungeons and
that-
Dragons is another level of nerd.
Regardless, I'm
Yeah,
gonna go with my own headcanon that they've just renamed themselves Kenku in certain places to cash in on the D&D worship.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, do you know Gary Gygax and what's his face are not wizards or magical trickster gods or something, and they are. It's how how it's established in universe that they publish all of these secret forbidden tomes. Like the White Council does that. So who knows? Maybe Dungeons and Dragons was a White Council sponsored project.
That's a
Who
hell of a
knows?
headcanon.
It's also not out of character for the White Council to do something like that.
No.
Yeah,
'Cause they've
no,
established that the more-
exactly. That's why I said so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the more mundane people know about the magic stuff, the less impact it has when they are exposed to it. So it also almost seems like a form of psychological warfare, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because the gods and these beings have to deal with basically constant static in their head of people using their names over and over again, just casually without meaning to. But yeah, on with the final fight. So yeah, they do a big damn heroes moment. It's important to note that a lot of the big players don't take any direct actions, which I feel like there is a matter of them not necessarily being allowed to, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Like what
Yeah.
all Odin does is open a gate. He doesn't actually zap anyone directly.
Yeah, I believe a lot of them are restricted by either like treaties and oaths and such, or they are prevented by being basically locked in stalemates with other powers.
Yeah, and it's kind of
Summer
like
and winter.
yeah, it's like kind of like how in Cradle monarchs never really go all out because other monarchs just swoop in and third party them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it makes sense to me that a lot of them definitely were not actively participating out of like a desire to
Sorry, I'm
their-
just reading the part of battle when the Great Council show up, and just remembered Harry's little sting of insult that somebody else was shouting "Fuego."
Oh right. That's his thing.
Admittedly,
It
they were
makes sense
shouting
because he
to
doesn't
shoot
realize
him,
that Fuego,
but
he doesn't realize that Fuego is Spanish for fire.
yeah, I'm sure he does. But it's just like
No,
he
he
still feels
knows.
insulted.
Yes, he knows. It's just like that's kind of his thing, right? Like it's established that wizards don't use their native tongue
Mm.
for
For spells to protect their minds.
for magic to protect their brains. Though, you know what's funny? This was pointed out on the TV Tropes page. That means that there's a high likelihood there's a bunch of Japanese wizards who shout out English attack names,
Yes.
which is just glorious. It's just like, I don't know how much of a weeb Butcher is. I feel like he's probably a normie as far as weebdom degeneracy is concerned.
I think to a certain extent
Oh.
he's a little too old to be fully into,
That's true. Like
into
he
weebery.
has the excuse in Dresden Files that like, where the hell is Harry gonna get watch anime? But Harry
Yeah.
can read manga. He likes comic books, so it's like I feel like Dresden as a character would quite enjoy quite a lot. There's a lot of manga that Dresden as a character would enjoy.
Mm.
Mm.
It seems like his thing. He is a shonen protagonist, is the thing.
Yes.
For all intents and purposes.
Something I just remembered. Leia's entrance into the story. I know this is off track, but his entrance into the story is doing the big Blofeld style reveal of swiveling in a chair while petting Mister.
Also,
And,
she swivels in an armchair that is literally a chair
incapable
with
of swiveling.
wheels and is incapable of swiveling. Yes,
Yeah.
which is
And
even
Harry's
better.
like, how did you swivel that? He's more focused on that than the fact that Leia's in his house.
And
He just assumes
let's not forget that she has been protecting his apartment from the Never Never all this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the Fae take their oaths seriously. It's just like the interpretation of they have their own interpretation of their oaths. But if they take an oath to protect someone, they're not gonna like intentionally dick them over.
Mm.
Or well, they might, but like that would only because they're not going to intentionally dick over someone because of an oath made to someone else. They're much more likely to dick over the person who made the oath.
Well, the point
That's
is,
what I'm trying
the
to
point
say.
is they're allowed to, as long as they are, the oath is loose enough, they're allowed to interpret it in their own, at their own discretion. And Leia, was like, well, best way to keep him safe is if he's at my side, and if he's, a hound and can't bother anybody.
But again, she does that, but she also does put up a very solid defense system.
No, she does.
for Harry's apartment. So it's not like she's exclusively being a dick about it.
Yeah.
And yeah, and there's an element of fittingness to that because I can't remember. I can't remember when we learned this, but the whole the point any area in the Never Never that connects to the mortal world should generally reflect the nature of the mortal area. So you know, a peaceful, beautiful garden watched over by a terrifying guardian that gets meaner and nastier and more relentless the more you hurt it.
Yeah, that's pretty fitting.
Oh, I forgot one of my favorite characters. Chandler. The British warden. And yes, that is solely because in his he's British and a sharply dressed Brit at that. But also his fucking PS of, why yes, I can in fact capitalize any words I desire. The language is English, I am English, therefore mine is the opinion which matters, colonial heathen. Which is true! Which is true! I get the final say, damn it!
Favorite Brit.
I will say, we're also forgetting about another. Was that character introduced? There's actually two things we've kind of completely glossed over.
Mm-hmm.
Oh?
The FBI agent.
Tilly, yep.
And also the Earl King showed up in this book.
Yep, he did.
We haven't touched on that at all.
We haven't talked about Earl King,
That
no.
whole bit was great.
Yeah.
I absolutely love the fact that Harry manages to play the situation by just claiming that they're guests and getting guests right as a result of that.
And again, it fits because obviously Harry got into the Earl King's domain via going through a gate in the FBI building. Earl King is the leader of the Wild Hunt and also possibly a protector of children. FBI.
Yeah. One moment, please. I'll be right back.
The jury's still out on whether or not the FBI is actually a protector of children, but we'll go with that.
In the optimistic view of them, they are a protector of children.
Yes.
But yeah, the Earl King bit was fun. And again, you know, doing a lot to rehabilitate him from his appearance in well, not necessarily rehabilitate him, but you know, make clear that he is not outright evil.
It's not even that he's outright evil. He's like he's in the same way as many of the Fae. He's kind of like, he's got blue and orange morality, but he is ostensibly, especially given we learn of some of the company he keeps later on.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing with the Earl King is that, at least in the German legends, the Earl King is kind of infamous for abducting children. So this is an interesting spin on that.
Yeah.
No, here's the thing. It plays into changeling culture. Because, like, it's never implied that the Earl King harms the children he abducts. He could just be taking them to raise them.
Like Peter Pan.
Let's not bring Peter Pan into this, because that's got some issues. But
apparently, someone's planning to make a horror movie about Peter Pan.
Of course they are, because that story has some horrifying implications. No.
Yeah, I'm with it.
Yeah, so the thing about the Earl King is that and it's interesting to note, and this is going to be relevant later, in the original mythology, the Wild Hunt was headed by Odin, who we know is an existent figure here.
Mm-hmm.
There's also an interesting theory about Odin that we can talk about at the end.
Well, isn't Odin Santa Claus? Sorry.
We specifically sidestepped that earlier.
Yes.
Sorry.
Okay, but anyway.
Ships.
Yes. Anyway,
I mean, loose lips just get muted, so.
It's kind of interesting. it's because the Earl King, I don't necessarily think he didn't see the whole guest right thing coming. I
Oh
think
no,
I
there's always a possibility that he caught it. It's just like,
It happened because he
didn't.
likes Harry.
So that's the thing, isn't it? Like, Fae show their affection in very strange ways.
I
Yeah,
think he.
and I think a lot of these
res-
beings like Harry. I think a lot of these beings really like Harry.
I think he
Yes,
respects Harry. I think that I don't think it's a case of they like him. I think they respect him.
and the thing is though, with the Fae, that's kind of the same thing.
No, that's
Yeah,
better
the
than
closest they can get to
liking.
liking someone
That's,
is reflecting them.
yeah, that's frankly
Respecting
better
them.
than liking, because
They can like something and want to toy with it.
yeah.
Yes. So it's like very much probably he's the Earl King strikes me as a bit of a blood knight, and he knows Harry's not fully grown yet, is the thing. So he's like, no, eat and grow strong so that you can actually be a worthy opponent for me later.
it's like the warrior equivalent of fattening up something to eat.
Well, no, this is a very common trope, right? Where the
Oh yeah, no.
the blood knight spares a weaker foe because they're still becoming more powerful, and so they want to fight them at their best. Right? This is a very common trope. So yeah,
No,
I
I'm
think
with you. I agree with you there. That I think that's probably the closest
also
to
like,
the correct interpretation.
yeah, I'm kind of convinced that the Earl King is probably, if not a member, at least Grey Council adjacent.
Yeah.
It would also be fitting with him being basically the court leader of the Wild Fae as well.
Mm.
Right? The Wild Fae are more divided, but he's one of the top dogs of the Wild Fae.
Yeah.
Which is basically there's summer, there's winter, and there's everyone else, and there's a lot of other Fae than just the Seelie and Unseelie courts.
The Seelie and Unseelie courts are much more organized than the Wild Fae, hence the name.
But yeah, he's definitely probably one of the big players.
Mm-hmm.
At the
Maybe
very
the
least,
biggest.
he speaks to the likes of Odin and Mab as equals, and that's saying something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? The fact that he is basically their peer suggests that he's a much bigger fish than you might assume.
So basically, the Earl King is not the king of the Wild Fae. Basically, he is the Lord of Goblins.
Yes.
Which is why he is a peer to Mab.
And goblins are horrifying.
Yo, goblins are fucking terrifying in the Dresden universe. Absolutely fucking terrifying.
In general,
They're terrifying in the
type
Goblin
things,
Slayer,
but
yeah.
Nah, they're not quite Goblin Slayer type goblins, but they're still like nasty motherfuckers.
No, even Goblin Slayer is made it a sex thing, which is just, of course they did. It's Japan. No, historically, goblins are malicious, evil spirit type things, like dwarves are. Like Tolkien, he did a lot of good, but he did kind of fix the image of goblins and dwarves into something that is quite different from their mythological counterparts. Right? Like dwarves are very much more Fae-like in the original mythology, as are goblins.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that is true.
So yeah,
so yeah.
Anything else in the final battles scene?
Not much else to discuss, really.
Yeah. I mean, I was just gonna mention about goblins because again, Harry says they are sneaky, smart, and ruthless like ninjas from Krypton.
He also describes them as like ninja terminators, like
Yeah.
at some point.
Yeah. Do not fuck with goblins.
Is there that
in this universe
tends to be the general gist of things.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Also, just a really funny, few funny moments I want to point out. Harry sees at one point sees Martin trying to alphabetize his bookshelves, and he thinks they used to kill men for sacrilege like that.
Isn't it
Which, you know,
sacrilege less than that? Or is it like that? I can't remember.
It's like that, yeah.
Yeah. At the start of the book, when they're going into Harry's office, and Harry again brings up, the Tolkien description of wizards as subtle and quick to anger, and Harry just goes "fuck subtle" and starts blasting.
to be fair, it's not really a choice on his part. I don't think he's capable of subtlety, just like genetically.
Yeah. And you know what?
Also, Sonya finding out about Harry's deal with the Pixies.
Oh yeah, you're a drug dealer to tiny fairies.
What a
Shame.
shame.
you give little people drug and they help you. They are druggy and you are their drug dealer.
Not to mention his reaction to learning that that Mab fucked Harry. Of you hit that, you tapped that ass. Presumably,
Yeah.
it was fat.
With a PH.
Yeah,
Yep.
pH fat.
Yep.
Sonya's
I
hilarious.
absolutely love Sonya.
Sonya
Yeah.
is great. Sonya is great. Also, shout out to the Red Court. They were wonderfully petty to Harry in that they bought his building, so Harry was paying rent to them, and they'd been slowly hiking his rent up just because they could.
Oh yeah, that is petty as
Show.
fuck.
Not
Like, no one in this universe is an adult.
Yeah, not to mention like just Harry finding out that they rigged the building to explode. Of those jerks, they told us they were cleaning out asbestos.
If anything, they were probably putting asbestos in.
Yeah. Also, the fact that Harry had mailed his rent check just that day.
Yeah, that's the real kick in the ass there. I know a thing or two about rent checks.
What else is there? Just in terms of funny moments. Harry forcing Marcone to meet him in a Burger King, just so he
Yes.
could see him there.
That is probably one of the better parts of this. Though good old Johnny Marconi wasn't in this much.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah, no, it was just a brief bit. Oh,
Go-
I love this bit where he's told that he has to keep his duel with Ariana confined to a specific area. I have this problem with buildings, you see.
Yeah.
I mean, there's only one recorded incident in this entire series where a building is on fire and it's not his fault.
Mm-hmm.
Just one.
Yeah.
Is this the one where they duel in Wrigley Field?
No, that was
No,
Death
that was book
Masks.
5.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Also, the fact that Harry's first, it's not even like it's reflexive. It's not a thought. It is reflexive that he snarks off to Hugin and Moonin,
Yes. Also,
which they don't
Harry just
take
being
well.
yeah. Harry being absolutely stunned silent that Mac actually talked to him in a full sentence.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm looking for a thing on TV tropes regarding this. So you guys keep talking. Hang on.
What is it? I might be able to help.
The one of the prevailing theories on Odin's deal currently, and something that might work if
Well, you mean
man
like
for
how?
gods.
Go to the Dresden Files wiki, because there is actually a bit from Butcher about this.
Really?
But anyways,
A little bit, yeah. To a certain
what was
extent.
the thing?
There's a couple of things you might want to read on there.
What was the other thing I wanted to talk about? Shoot.
Where was it? Sanya's all-time fantastic line of describing Murphy as tiny but fierce.
Yes.
Speaking of calling Murphy tiny, Thomas almost does that by suggesting that she should be Gimli. It's like
Yeah.
she's very and Murphy promises finish that sentence, Wraith, and we will throw down. Tough. She's very tough.
Um. Toot swearing at Sanya in Russian was apparently a thing.
Yes. So specifically, the gag there is, I believe, he called him a domovoy, which is a house fairy.
Yeah.
Right.
He refers to himself as a polivoy, which is a field fairy.
Yeah.
He's not like, he's offended at the implication that he's like not a wild dude.
Is that a slavery joke?
No.
No.
No, it's a mythology gag.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just.
I was
it's
like,
just
wow.
No, it's
field
just
fairy versus house fairy.
No, it's just Toot being insulted that he's being called something he's not, and I assume that he probably has something against house fairies.
I mean, house fairies are much more like tame.
Yeah.
And they're much less impressive in terms of what Toot values. But yes, should we go into the Odin thing?
Yeah, go for it.
So apparently, according to TV tropes, Vadarang means something along the lines of father's son or something.
Thor
And
Father
Donar
King.
is another name
Donar
for Thor.
Vadarung translates to Thor the Father King, according to TV tropes.
Yeah. So it's basically, I feel like there's a slight implication. I haven't read the wiki stuff, so Mil can fill in on that. But the implication on the other side of things seems to suggest that original Odin is either dead or retired, and Thor took over the mantle and became the new Odin.
Honestly, that'd be pretty cool, actually.
Which also explains why Thor has not showed up in the series, and you'd think he would. He's kind of loud and obvious.
No, I don't believe that's the case.
Okay, would you like to fill us in on what you've seen in the wiki?
I mean, it's nothing specific as to that, but again, it's like Butcher seems to be very, again, Butcher could be lying to us, but he seems to be very insistent that Odin is Odin.
So I know
Butcher
one
could be
thing.
lying.
Is that Odin has given up his immortality and a lot of his powers so that he can intervene directly in human affairs.
Yes.
That might also be it. Maybe he calls himself that because names are important to make Donar Vadarung legally distinct and like magically distinct from Odin.
So what Butcher says, and this is going to be a long one, so I'll try and get through it as quickly as possible. There are actually gods and stuff around and functioning in our world, but they're posing as mortals because they're getting way more play as professional wrestlers and rock stars than they ever did as deities. In our world, there's a lot of like the old Greek and Roman deities that are still hanging around. They just look very, very different, and they're not really allowed to do anything except hang on and watch and observe. They're not allowed to get involved in mortal affairs. So they tend to be a lot of smoke and mirrors and thunder and not a lot of things happening. They're not like Odin, who is actually involved in the world, and there's something right there.
Wait a second. Are you trying to tell me that Hulk Hogan is Thor?
No, because Hulk Hogan is a fucking asshole.
Also, if Hulk Hogan was Thor, that would be hilarious, but no.
So is Thor. Thor is an absolute dick in the mythology.
Anyway, let me continue. that is sort of the limit that the deities have found themselves running into. Eventually, at some point in the Dresden Files history, there came a point where the capital C creator was like, okay, guys, you were supposed to guide and protect humanity. You sort of did okay in some instances and some places, but now it's time for the humans to be making their own way, and everybody needs to step off and do it. And if you want to stay involved in the affairs of humanity, you're going to have to play and be subject to death as a model, just like everybody else.
Wait a second, isn't that like the first hardline confirmation that there is a capital G god, and it's basically exactly what we were thinking?
No, I'm fairly sure we already knew there's, capital G Y God.
But we knew there was a capital G god, but I feel like there was a school there was a part of the fandom that thought that capital G god was just another god.
Anyway, and can you really see Zeus going, oh, I'm so enamored with the models, I'm going to risk myself to help them? You can't really see that, but of all the deities in sort of the major Western pantheons that I was looking at, the one that I really thought would stay involved, it had to be Odin. It had to be the guy who would go to people's homes and visit them to check up that they were maintaining their host rights properly and stuff like that, He was genuinely involved with humanity, so I made him that character who said, alright, I'll set aside my deific immortality and throw into the game like anybody else will, and then immediately started building himself to become someone cool and taking all these other mantles to maintain his immortality so he could continue doing what Odin always did, which was defend and teach humanity.
Yeah, okay, because that is a very important point. Odin was never like a good dude, but he was relatively benevolent compared to a lot of the other Western pantheons.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, Odin never reached Greek pantheon
so
levels of dignity.
that might be why Hades, still has his influence.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because he didn't give up his immortality. So, so he's still got his power in his, in his domain.
That actually reinforces my belief that what's his face? The Red Court, the King and the Lords of the Outer Night are not
gods.
Are not gods, because their personality does not suggest to me that they would be willing to give up literal immortality and make themselves more just to involve themselves in human affairs.
Yeah, no, if they had immortality, it was little I immortality in that, oh, we're not aging, we can't die. But they're still killable.
Whereas it's been established that gods have big I immortality, except in certain circumstances, though theirs is resurrective immortality.
Yes.
Which is its own kind of ballgame. It's not that they can't be killed, it's that they can't be killed permanently, except...
Yeah,
which we will get to later on.
Yes. So yeah, I think we've about covered everything, and we've been going for a couple of hours as well, so...
More or less everything, yeah.
Let me just think if there's anything else. We finally get Lloyd Slate dying.
Oh yeah, that bastard was almost pitiable by the end.
Yeah.
Nah, he felt no pity. He deserved everything he got and then some.
I did say almost.
Oh yeah. Murphy lost her job at the police department.
Yeah, because she went to help.
That was kind of an inevitability, really.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You kind of can't mess around with the supernatural so much and expect to keep your job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is unfortunate.
Yeah. Also, we didn't mention this, but Rudolph was in this book.
Fuck that guy. Why do we have to mention him?
Just move on.
I mean, we have to mention him a little bit. He was, he's working for the FBI.
Yeah, their higher standards must have drastically dropped.
Yeah.
Well, it is an American government institution, so I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Heyo.
Hey, you're Canadian. You have no right to talk shit about our government.
No. Hey, I'm British, and I'm going to talk shit about your government.
I'm pretty sure Canadians are one of the only other people than Americans who have that pass. We're basically the same country.
Yeah, except you got like even more of a dumbass in your presidential office, prime ministerial office, whatever it is.
Well, it's not
Really?
nearly as what? No, let's not get into politics.
No, we
Yes.
shouldn't.
Okay. But yeah.
Yeah, I think that's
That about
everything. Yeah.
Thank you everyone
Yep.
for joining us.
In terms of future stuff, tomorrow we will be getting back to the regular D&D campaign.
Whoop whoop.
Hopefully we'll get out of the wilderness. Tuesday we should be continuing on with Mass Effect 2.
Oh, yeah.
And Martin Sheen's silky smooth voice.
Yep. Thursday we should, fingers crossed, or we might be finishing Ace Attorney. I'm not sure if we've actually decided that or not.
The plan is hopefully to finish.
The
Ace
plan
Attorney,
is to
yes.
finish that, yeah. We will see if it pans out that way. And then next Saturday, I believe. So we were gonna do something.
Oh wait, we're gonna have to postpone that.
We're
so
probably
to do
going to have to
something else.
postpone that. Well, yeah, we are going to have to postpone that. So it's looking likely it'll be female characters in Shonen.
That'll be fun.
Paradox our topic.
Shonen
that's gonna be a
whammon.
nightmare.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of downs and a couple of nice ups.
Sadly, the ups are going to be the exception that proves the rule.
Yeah, kind of. I think we'll be able to say that, and evidence that it's getting better. It's getting slowly better.
We're gonna spend a lot of time shit talking some of the biggest shonen authors.
Oh,
in the business.
100%. We are gonna shit talk some fools massively.
Akira Toriyama being first and foremost.
No, not first and foremost, but he is on the list.
Akira
no.
Toriyama is really like.
Honestly, I think
He's
Kishimoto's
relatively
gonna get the most
benign.
flack.
He's relatively benign.
Kishimoto is probably going to be the one who's getting the most flack of
Yeah,
the big one.
Yeah,
Kishimoto
Kishimoto.
Akira Toriyama not writing women is kind of like Oda not writing romance.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he actually does write women fairly well by shonen author standards, especially for an author in his era. But we will get to that when we get to that.
Yes. Anyway, that's gonna be a fun podcast. I'm hoping to be on it. But yes, let's sign off then.
Yeah. Otherwise,
Good night,
again,
everybody.
yeah. Thank you everybody for watching. Please give us a follow here on Twitch and on Twitter at storytime_net, as long as Twitter lasts.
Oh, it'll be there. It'll just be under a different name.
And otherwise, we hope to see you tomorrow for more D&D. Good night.
Later.
Bye.